Alright, so the purpose of my recording today, or my presentation today, is to demonstrate first simply how to use installer scripts that I have made for Linux that'll allow end users to, with not a lot of thought, because I have ended up making some decisions for some people, they're going to be able to install either WordPerfect 7, 8, or 8.1 in general onto their computer without having to do much at all to get things ready. After I'm done just basically showing how the thing works, I'll probably get into more technical details. And there's actually a few things that are kind of new that really haven't come up in other discussions of a few minor issues I have been able to resolve and to get them pretty much working, well, normally. Now, in general, and I will make this available eventually, contents of this directory is going to be zipped up and loaded up somewhere so people could download it and unzip it. I don't know if I'll have the utilities and test scripts or earlier versions available. I'll have some documentation. There's probably way too much there. And probably the best way for me to just document how an end user would use this thing, because it has gotten complicated, is basically what an end user needs to do. And assuming you have never tried to follow any instructions to get WordPerfect to run, you're a brand new user as far as using legacy apps concerned. You've never made steps to install what's called shared libraries. If you don't know what that is, that's good, because that's what we're talking to. That's the audience we're talking to right now. Later on, we'll go into all those details. What you would do is you edit this WordPerfectInstall.conf file. And this is designed just for a brand new user. You pick a version. And there actually are, I've got outlined 9 versions here, of which, well, in general, there's really only 3, but it all depends on where I'm going to get the program from. Really depends on which version you pick. And if in general it's 7, you get version 7. In general it's 8, you get version 8. And in general, if it's this 81 here, it'd be 8.1. Now all these things have, the program is out on the internet scattered in various places. And I've taken efforts to have this install really quickly and get those to get the programs from the various places that they're stored. But in general, I've only grabbed them from places where they've in general been preserved the way they were originally released. This version 8 here is for people that actually have bought the CD, or they own the CD. This script automates the install and asks you to insert the CD into the drive during the install. Okay, and I'm going to go through all of these different installations. 8i is you have an image of the CD. 8IB is an image of the WordPerfect4Linux Bible. Now, in general, I'll go over a couple things here. So, version 8.1 is the newest version. It came on, I don't need to go into history. Basically, it's the newest version, and it has, it's kind of limited in what kind of fonts it could bring into it without some extra work. It can accept additional fonts, but it does everything all the other ones do. It is newer. It requires fewer shared libraries, which won't matter to most people. In general, it works. Selection of printers, I don't know if it's all that rich, but you don't really need a very, in fact, there are other technical details to go into. Basically, printers don't matter. You just use pass-through PostScript with this stuff. So anyway, if you're going to make a choice, I don't think, or I do think, or I'm pretty sure, that the only good choice to make in any case is at least to get the fonts from the WordPerfect for Linux Bible installed in your system, and then pick the version you want to use. Now, there are a few versions that cannot take advantage of the fact that you've put the fonts in there. That's namely 8D and 8R. They're both really the exact same version, but one gets downloaded from a place that has the files as they were released by Corel. The other one has the files as they were when WordPerfect 8 was incorporated in a Linux distribution, Caldera Open Linux 2.2. WordPerfect for Linux Bible has everything the Personal Edition does. It's all in one disk, and the bonus is there's some extra fonts. There are some patches for very old versions of KDE and Red Hat that you're probably not interested in that it also has as well. 8.1 has the capability of having other fonts, but unfortunately I don't have my hands on those fonts, and they were system-wide fonts for Corel Linux. However, I think I've got a pretty good collection of fonts just from the WordPerfect for Linux Bible, which is probably what you want to go with. They all pretty much look and work the same way. 7, even though it's older, it seems to have more options on the control panel. Now, you don't have to just pick one. You can install all 9. In fact, I'm going to install all 9 right now. They're all going to be put in separate places. And I've also taken steps to get rid of some bugs and deal with some very low-level technical issues that a regular user isn't going to be that concerned about. But for the new user, you just pick a version. And honestly, my honest suggestion is probably 8.1b. And that's got to be in caps or it won't work. In caps. You have to say what your username is going to be. Actually, not what it is going to be, what it already is. So you have to look in your home directory. If you don't know what your username is, basically the directory, all your stuff is, it's home some username. You just change that to your username. Then there are 5 important choices that you need to make. And just so if you've never made the effort to install TrueType fonts on your, or to install a TrueType font installer on your system, as is described in various places where very helpful people have gathered information and provided pages as to how to get WordPerfect to work, you would change that notation to no. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do it again. Once you go through one installation, that will change from no to yes, and you never have to do TrueType and the TrueType font installer utility. You never have to install that again, unless you change systems. Symlink is basically, if you haven't made a symbolic link into X11, you don't know what that is, just say no. If you don't know what LD config is, just say no. Bible fonts are the fonts from the WordPerfect for Linux Bible that I was talking about. That's a special setting. Basically, you want to change that to no while you're doing a WordPerfect for Linux Bible install. If WordPerfect for Linux Bible is already installed, you can still set that to no. And you can run another utility, which I'll show you here. I've broken this into parts so the other parts can be useful as well. And that'd be another way to get the Bible fonts in your system. But for simplicity's sake, and you got to do it this way. You can't just kind of decide, well, I'm going to try this other one first and then come back to this one. It's not necessarily going to work as easily and as well as it can. Not that it's broken. And there's something called shared libraries for WordPerfect. If you have not made an effort to do that, so basically you can change, if you decide as a new user, and this is my recommendation, to install change the version to 8.1b and change all these yeses to no. You save this text file, you are ready to go. Alright, so what I have to do, looks like you have a lot of choices, but the one that matters is this one right here. So you have to log in as root. So when you download this zip file, you're going to extract it into some directory. Let's pretend you extract it into the install scripts directory. Change directory to the directory that you download this in, and just do wp install. Press enter. And then I give you a bunch of warnings, and I basically can scroll up and I say okay. And then if you don't know what this is, it's okay, because if you've marked shared libraries as no, I'm basically telling you this is where I'm going to put your stuff at. If you've marked shared libraries as yes, that means you better have your stuff here already, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to run the programs, and in some cases you won't be able to install any of these versions of WordPerfect unless that's where your stuff is. So for intermediate users, if you've made the effort to put shared libraries into your system, this is what you got to know. This is just a holding directory where we're going to put all the stuff prior to installing everything. This is where it's going to land in the system, although when we're done, you'll be able to launch WordPerfect from both an icon and the shell by typing, in this case, XWP 8.1b, the 1b being in caps. It'll launch. I have a installer script for the print manager and draw, and I plan on maybe making some more, but it is tedious to make these shell scripts. Okay. Then I'm saying, okay, you're telling me you've already installed the shared libraries. If you haven't, stop here. Okay. You've already installed the TrueType font installer. You've already made the symlink to the X11 locales. You've already ran ld-config after updating your shared libraries. The username you use is Jack. If this is all good, type in caps, and if you don't type in caps, it will exit YES, and just type yes. And then it starts downloading this stuff. Now, eventually, don't know, some of the places that this stuff gets downloaded from may disappear. That's what wpdownload.conf is for, but it is a little particular in some cases, the way things have to be set out, but I'll do that in the more intermediate parts of the presentation. Right now, I'm just downloading this stuff. So I'm getting the WordPerfect for Linux Bible. It's 300 megabytes big. And there's a lot of little ifs and buts to talk about and all this stuff, but for now, I'm going to keep it simple for the regular end user. And maybe I'll have other presentations that goes into a lot of technical details about this, including some of the technical detail that I alluded to earlier. The downloading of the CE image, because that's what we're doing, and the installing of fonts, if you have already installed the WordPerfect for Linux Bible fonts into your system, is the most time-consuming portions of the install. Now, there are two versions of version 7 that will look ugly. The GUI will come up. Just don't touch the GUI and you're fine. For version 8, you do need to pay attention as to where you said that you were going to install WordPerfect 2. So when the GUI comes up for the installer, I have to put in this /opt/wp81b exactly as I have it here. If I don't, the launchers won't work. Sentences. Okay. Now, the WordPerfect for Linux Bible happens to come with registration key on the CD. I display it for your reference here. Unfortunately, you can't copy and paste this, I don't believe. You can write it down, however. I've written it down, and I'll just press enter, and the installer starts. Accept the license, and I have to have lowercase, and that's not going to work. See, I use the backspace, it wants to do pluses. The P8, capital I, capital B. That matches with what is set up here. Why? Because the launch scripts that this program will depend on to work right will path the WordPerfect executable to that directory. If you tell this thing to put it somewhere else, it will. And then when you go to launch the script, it won't be able to find it, and your stuff won't work. So just all you gotta do, make sure this matches that. Full install. Don't worry about the pattern directory. And the registration number, of course, was displayed for your use. Then update the magic file. If you want to do another language, you can. The difference between 8 and 7, I will say this is another thing. 7, I had to do a lot of manual stuff in the background, so I haven't been able to implement all these different versions of languages that are available to the end user. That's number one. I may get to it, I may not. It's a big job. I had to do a lot of stuff manually because 7's installer is broken. This I was able to patch. I've actually patched this installer in the time that I've been here. Download the patch and patched it. These are the only remaining errors, which don't really matter all that much. You can pick your language here. For 7, it's going to take some work, and probably more than what you'd want if you're just a casual user, to be able to install a different language besides English US, just the way it is. I would pick another language. I'm not really one to discriminate, but then again, I got to be able to read the language to be able to, do what I'm doing. Next, you always just pick pass-through ProScript. And the way WordPerfect works is it sends a print job to a printer that's installed in Linux already that is associated with WordPerfect. In other words, you're not installing a new printer for the system. WordPerfect just basically will pass the printout to a printer that's already installed on your system already. It's really all it's ever been necessary. Go ahead and assign that to an installed printer. Mine happens to be a Canon. Just going to go ahead and view these. And we are done. And I don't know how long we're into this because I did talk an awful lot. Okay, I'm 18 minutes into this damn thing. Now, next thing's going to happen is you get a chance to install fonts. And what you want to do is, and this is after you have installed a true type font installer, and presumably, if you've installed the WordPerfect for Linux Bible and you said Bible fonts equals no, what I would have done in the background is put a bunch of fonts into a special directory in Linux, ran a utility to get those fonts registered to Linux, so that when this stage comes up, you're able to actually pick those fonts and make a copy of them and bring them into WordPerfect's installation base, because WordPerfect kind of acts in its own little sandbox, I would say. Now, what you have to do is go grab those things. You could go with these 8, but that's just not really enough. So you have to dig in and at least And the way I have this stuff, and I'll say this, if someone else has already installed, some of the shared libraries on your system and you're not on SUSE, this is probably not going to work. You have to uninstall those other libraries and use this installer to install them, because I put them all in one place and they all got to be in one place. Now, you just dig into user, X11R6 is probably the most complicated thing about this. Library, X11, fonts, type 1. And you just basically have to do both of those folders at the top. And like magic, we got a whole big old variety. I think that's good enough. Alright. That part's probably going to take the longest. I'm not sure how many there are. I have looked into this. I've tried converting fonts from the Windows version from TrueType to the kind of fonts that the system that this version of WordPerfect wants. And there are errors embedded in them, and there's like a 700 font limit or something like that. It might be closer to 750. We're not close yet, but this is a pretty good collection here. And you can always go back and use the font installer. If you want. So we're just at the B's. After this gets done, I'll automatically have a print setup utility come up. And say, well, you already did that during the first stage. I just bring it up again, just to make sure that you've got one of your system printers associated with the PostScript driver, I guess, from WordPerfect. And once that closes, we just do a test, and then when we're done, I'll show you the icons that are on the desktop and how you can get to CorelDRAW and the Print Utility Manager. And when this first one runs, I'll go over a few things that were actually kind of broken that I've managed to fix. But maybe I'll do that later. There are a lot of fonts. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. I guess I'll go over fonts. So let's say you've installed the WordPerfect for Linux Bible, but you forgot to set Bible fonts to no. You could go back, you could just run this thing called Bible Extras. You have to change WordPerfectInstall.conf to have it read Bible fonts equals no, meaning you don't have them in there yet. And by running Bible Extras, it'll download the CD image, mount it, and it will copy all the fonts from that CD into the special directory on the system. It'll run the utilities to get those fonts to be available to all the programs in the system, really. And also add a few utilities that come with the WordPerfect for Linux Bible to some directory. You can then go to this utility called do font install. You have to change WordPerfect install.conf. If you want to add the Bible fonts to every version, you do it one by one. You change, to which version you want to do it in, and then this thing will come up, and then you have the fonts just like I did. You have to dig to user X11R6, library X11 fonts type 1. Alright, so this is done. Just exit this, and where's my installer? Right there. And now the print manager is going to come up, and it's a little tricky, but not a big deal. Create the printer. Now this happens to carry forward from when I did my installation for this version of WordPerfect. If when you look, that stuff isn't there, what you do is you click on Add, search for pass-through PostScript, or you can start typing pass. It comes up, you select it, you say OK, the dialog box come up, you'll say OK. I'm going to cancel. Then you go to Setup, and you pick Destination, and you pick one of the printers you already have. So this is pretty much the same thing that was done during the install process. But sometimes, if for some reason that doesn't catch on, that's what that's there for. Okay. Exit the print manager, now it starts WordPerfect up for me. First time as a regular user, you print. Type something in here, otherwise it's going to say what document you want to load because it's empty. Still got to select your printer. That's a one-time thing. And my printer is making noise. Now, one thing that I managed to fix in all the different versions of WordPerfect that I'll get into some technical details about is we go to Preferences. Prior to the fix that I just incorporated in this latest version, although I haven't released it before, when you press on that button, this would not come up, which is one other symptom of brokenness that I had to overcome when I did all this stuff. Alright, I'm going to exit. And now I am done putting 8.1b. I might as well just try to do 8.1. Sorry, 8i. So I did 8IB, now I'm going to do 8i. And let's see how this one goes. Up arrow for perfect install, press enter, do yes. And in fact, you probably don't have to worry about this anymore. If you had all those settings set to no, they'll magically be changed to yes. And those were all one-time things to do. You don't have to set the true type fonts up one time, create a symbolic link one time, run LD config one time, install the Bible fonts one time, and the shared libraries one time. Once these are set to yes, it'll never come up again. Now I said yes to confirm. Now it's going to download this 84 megabyte personal CD. So see, it's a lot smaller than what came on the WordPerfect Linux Bible. And now it's trying to mount the CD image, which is fine. Just press enter, and this is, since this is a different version, I'm doing a separate install. It's going to go to separate place, and instead of taking it to WP8IB, it's going to be WP8I in the op directory. In the op directory. I almost cut myself sleeping there. Okay. But why would I do this? I'm just testing this out. Eventually I'm going to pick which ones I want, but I want to make sure they all work. selected it. I'm going to assign it to my Canon. Go with everything. This is the pretty much the exact same thing that was on the WordPerfect for Linux Bible. But the fonts are not available. But because I've already installed this font system, this effectively will be the exact same thing as the WordPerfect for Linux Bible. Font installer. Again, it only comes with the select number. If I want to be able to use all the fonts I already have in my system, and you can move those ones that were there down into this directory. You have to copy them there, then you have to run the make font directory thing, or you can just do, I think it's do font, or maybe get fonts. All right. So, since these fonts are also being copied to a separate directory, the other fonts aren't incorporated into this. This really is being treated as a second separate program. And this will take just as long as the other one. The second issue I dealt with was with WordPerfect 7. When there was an older version of WordPerfect 7 floating around in FreeBSD 2.2 repositories that I have this set up to download automatically. There's 3 different ones. It has one file called libcvt.us in the shlibs10 directory. It's got an extra variable in there, something like cvt72_s or something like that. That version of WordPerfect was a pre-release before Corel actually finalized it. As far as I could tell, the only change they really made was to that file. That was like a demo, actually. The one that's up at FreeBSD 2.2 is a demo. It's a binary file, so you can't edit it, but a newer version is available at Corel's FTP site, which we will install, and another version was made available, I think it was in Red Hat 5.1 on their application CD, which we will also install. Now, some choices that I made, is these things are copying, and now we're past the point where a new user, I think, will get the idea as to what you have to do. So they probably don't need to stick around, except just to watch the fact that I'm going to install all 9, but it's really not that interesting. I've put up a copy of the newer and better copy of libcvt.us at my Google Drive, and so it'll download automatically and be put in the right place. There is a setting for that. You can turn that off by default here in WordPerfect system, and there's a ton of options in here, a ton of variables that I have in here, and sometimes I've had to make choices. I have those things in here, and where I say patch 7 equals yes, in this case, it means this is something you want to do instead of this is something you've already done. So if you don't want to have the better version of libcvt.us such that when you start WordPerfect 7 from the command line using XWP, in fact I'll just XWP 8i, for example. Well, how can I run it if I'm installing it? Well, because they're 2 different installs. What would happen is that for 7 it would say that's a problem. Okay, I gotta explain this. And I didn't think about that. We'll get to it. This message right here. But anyway, so go back to the first thing. What would happen is there'd be a message that would come up. This variable is unused. Now, for WordPerfect 8 and 8.1 and 7, we got a little problem. If you want to run more than one version of WordPerfect, as long as you're licensed for it, you're good. I've got a bunch of licenses here. I bought 3 different CD packs. So I'm good. Plus I have the trial edition code from a long time ago. Okay. 7 I can't manage to get licensed. But what I do during the process of launching the program is I have it, and I'm wondering why it wouldn't change. There actually are 2 versions of Library C that were used when WordPerfect was made. For version 7 and version 8, they used Library C 5.4.23. How do I know that? Because there was an error. Basically, there was a symbol inside the executable that only experienced users can understand this. Really experienced. There's a symbol inside of versions 8 and 7 of WordPerfect called _sys_error list that wants to be a size of 496. The size of sys error list in Library C, which is linked to these programs, at least the version that comes with SUSE, Linux's shared library, and that would actually be version 5.4.46, I believe. The sys error list object size is 504. The program will let you run it, but it will give you this ugly error saying, well, it's not the same size. Consider relinking. Alright, so how did I work around that? Well, when I do the shared libraries thing, when you have shared libraries equals no, what I do is I download SUSE's RPM. I don't install it via RPM. I unzip it. I put the stuff where it's supposed to go. And that's only 3 places. The user directory, and underneath user there's an i486 blah 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 directory, and that's where all the libraries are, basically, including Library C, the version of Library C you want to use. I also get the other version, and I got it from a download site that basically was keeping track of the official versions of Library C at the time. And back when version 7 was released in 1997, Library C was at 5.4.23. I tried it out, ran the older versions of the program, and the error that was present before is no longer present. Problem is, if to break that symbolic link, if I got to be root, I'm probably going to have to change the installer to make it so the root user doesn't own that symbolic link. But these are shared libraries. These are not the standard libraries. I also have very strict pathing going on. Anyway, I'll just exit this. In fact, I'll just get out of that. Do my printer. And since it's really the same version, it's kind of taking the settings from my root directory. Just make sure our destination is going there. Yeah, it is. Okay. Exit. And the program will come up right away. And for some reason, what version this is? This one seems to run a little bit slower. I'm not sure why that is. This is not system install.com. 8i seems to run slow. Don't know why. And that printed, I'm not going to save it. And we're done with that one. Okay. Now, any guesses what we need to do to install it from the CD? We just change it to good old 8. This will be installed number 3 on my system. And this, the only thing you need to know is you just need to wait till after the CD is spinning once you put it in. Otherwise, when you press enter and the script tries to mount the CD and the system hasn't really detected the fact that there was a CD there, it'll say it can't find the CD. So you just got to wait a little bit before you go ahead and press enter, and you'll see how that works. So I changed the version to 8, up arrow, YS, and it says insert the Corel. Okay, so got to do what it says. If I just press enter now, no good. So insert the CD. Be patient, wait for things to spin around, wait for the little box, at least here in KD3, comes up and says, hey, we got a CD, what do you want to do? That lets you know the system knows there's a CD in the drive. Like that. And now it probably is a bit safer for me to hit enter. It will mount the CD at that point. You don't have that problem with the disk image because the disk image is already there and downloaded before that even happens. What I do in this case is I copy all the contents from the CD because I have to patch the install. I copy it into root. I patch the installer. And now for advanced users, I got some more important information. If you're using a distribution in which the libraries are installed and they're not all put into the same directory, this solution will not work. Uninstall your stuff, and you got to place the stuff where it belongs manually. Just use my installer. Here we are. This one is just going to be plain old version 8. And I'll use my plain old version 8 registration. So these all look the same. And how exciting could this be? Well, this is exciting because the first two I downloaded CD images from the internet. One is called the WordPerfect4Linux Bible. The other one is called Corel Linux Personal Edition. And this one I'm using the same CD image, but it's not an image, it's a physical CD. And I've selected that. Yes, I have. Now I want to assign it to Canon printer. Go for full gambit. And again, all the errors that would have been there except for these pixel things are gone because I patched the installer. And the only way I can patch an installer is to have the install file be in a place that's not just read-only, which means I got to copy everything from the CD. I also clean this stuff up at the end, so I delete the directory from the root directory. And we've got the font, installer font, install type 1, graphics font. Same options as before, so I'm going to go for the bigger stuff. By the way, for those curious, you want to see where this stuff is landing. My standard WC Fields response is, get out of here, kid, you bother me, but instead I will actually show you. User, X11R6, library, X11, fonts, type 1. you're a legacy app user and you don't have that directory memorized, get ready to have it happen just as a matter of having to use the library x11 directory all the time. Alright, let's just go look, see what's popping up here. We've got 8, 8i, 8ib. In fact, right now when I'm doing the fonts, the program really is installed. And do we have icons? Yes, we do. But do the icons work? Why, yes, they do. But how about this one? That is the print utility. How about WordPerfect Draw? Yeah, that works too. It's the Ginzu knife of WordPerfect installers. Since I uninstalled all these, I'm just going to... Now, I haven't worked on KDE integration, or there's little things that I could do. Better language options for some people in some versions, etc., etc., etc. So right now I've done 8i, 8ib, 8. I'm going to do the download edition of 8, the RPM download edition of 8. Then I'll do 8.1, which is a newer version of WordPerfect, and then I'll do 7, 7c, which comes from Corel's FTP server, and 7r, which is an old RPM. So getting back to that solution here, let's go over here to where the shared libraries actually land, right in this directory. And you're going to see I got 2 versions of library C in here. .5423, 5446. 5446 comes stock with WordPerfect 8.1, and that is the only version that you need that for, and it's the only version that is optimal for. 5423 is the version that was compiled against WordPerfect 8, both full and download editions, and WordPerfect 7, both demo and full edition. And if you run it with 5446, it complains. So, at any one time, one of these 2 libraries will be linked to library C.so5. That is to say, as you can see right now, it is using definitely 5423. But if I want to run the newer version of WordPerfect, I'm better off using the library C it was compiled with. So when I go to execute the program, how do I do that? Well, I've actually made a shell script, and I did it using echo and printf during this time. It's a pretty quick installer. I make it from scratch. I do a touch, and then I populate with words from echo and printf. Same thing with the icons, all handmade. What the launcher does, and I guess we can go over there. Well, this will allow me to these XWPs 1 and 4. Okay, so far I've made all these scripts in the time I've been on here. Let's take a look at this with KWrite. Let's exit that. So we just continue. Print matters, file print, setup, go destination. Yeah, we do. Okay, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. We're done. If I press enter, CD unmounts. Run a test. File print. Select my printer. It's a different version. Bada bing. And we exit. I'm not seeing, and we're done. This is where I do it. I remove the symbolic link, and then I link it once again. So I need to actually make the I've changed the owner of this damn thing. This here got, or I have to make it so it's writable by everybody. And it's got to stay that way. I may have to put a change mode in there, because when it complained on that other one, when I was running this as the regular user, okay? Right. So, but if I make that as the user, okay, so I think just here. I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do about that. I got to make it so the first time it does it right, okay? Now, what if I have even write permissions in this frickin' directory here? So you're going to let me, how come I can't change permission on that? Do I have to make, is this going to like kill everything now? There's always some technical thing you got to do, you know? I always go as Jack. That's not my name. Swear to God. All right. Or is this just gonna not let me? That's weird. Why is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Alright. Blah, 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 blah. So hopefully it won't complain anymore. I think I have to add something to the script to get that permission to change. There's always something to add to this damn thing. Alright, so, okay. So I'm done with that. I'm just going to take my CD out. Now, here's another thing to note. If you've got an old version of Linux running somewhere, you don't need my installer script, because, you know, the installers will work on their own. This is here to facilitate an installer that wouldn't work otherwise. You know, it looks like it works, but I've done a lot of stuff in the background to make sure that it does. Alright, so I've done, let's see, 8i8ib. Let's look at the op directory and see what I've done. 8.8.8ib. So let's do 8R, which is an RPM file of the download edition. The GUI will not come up, so you don't need to worry about where stuff's going to land. It will launch at the end. It wants you to put the license key in at the first launch. All right. Up arrow. YES. No, let's let it. And why do I... Oh, right. The download edition does not have the graphical font installer, which is why they did not come up. And I got to have a printer. Choose my destination. And then somebody put a license number in there. That was quick. That was mighty quick. Alright. Picking association. Again, this is a different install than the other ones. Job done. We're done. We're all good here. How about you? There it is. PR. Okay, let's try for the next one. See how fast we can do this. Let's rush them through, and let's do the download edition, which is going to come from a different location. The results will be the same. The install will look different, and it'll be kind of ugly. The GUI will come up, and there will be a couple errors that I have not eliminated because I'm lazy. I don't know. Whatever. It uses the same installer script as the CD, all three CD, the two images in the one CD, but since it's a lighter version, it doesn't work the same. Okay, let's go. YES. Alright, so we're going to get that stuff downloaded, and it's going to download. Unzip and start our installer. So it patches the file right there. Now I do have a thing that if you have your, if you're using another distribution, you just want to go ahead and use this, despite the fact that I'm telling you, you gotta have all your libraries in the same place. If you want to do that, you can do that. You have to indicate, because what happens is, when I showed you the installer script, I actually have notations in there. It says, use these libraries right here and nothing else. Use this version of LD and nothing else. That's the only way this stuff will work. If you've got shared libraries hither and yon all over the place, this directory over here, this directory over here, this directory over here, I'm only able to direct LD to point to one directory. So you're going to have a mix of old and new libraries. That's going to be the end result. If you want to do it that way, and if you want your stuff to land in a different place than I-486, it has to land in either user or library. You can't just put it in opt. I've tried that. It doesn't work. You also have to have LD config, have this directory there, but I've kind of skipped over the advanced. I went straight from the beginner's stuff, and the beginners should be done now. If you're a beginner, get the hell out of here, because I'm going to bore you. Okay. Leave. No, close it. Kind of kidding, but anyway. What was the point? So if you've got, there are 4 libraries that all these other versions besides 8.1 need to run. 3 of them are X11 types. One's the math library, one's the C library. If you've got some X11 libraries in a different place, and I think Debian by default does that, I can't get LD to strictly address. It's got to pick one directory. It's where all the libraries are going to be. One directory to rule them all, kind of like Lord of the Rings. Okay, so thing is, you can change the settings in wapsystem.conf as to where this stuff is going to end up being. Huh? Ah, see that? Ah, that's why it's there. Because I unzip the RPM. I don't install it via RPM, although I do let RPM users they can, but I'm not going to be maintaining install package managers for. This is hard enough as it is. So I'm saying, if I want to make other people do it, I'm going to roll with it too, so I do not have the shared libraries in my RPM database as installed, even though they are. Fair? Okay, so if I tell other people to do it, I'm going to do it too. And you basically pick the LD path by having that there, but I think you have to really have it there. You might be able to have it at i386 Linux or something like that. And if you do, the patch that comes down has this path hard-coded in it. But I'm such a nice guy, I set that out and I replace it with your LD path so the damn thing will work. That's how nice I am before it patches. So I patch my own patch just for you. However, again, if you don't have the libraries in the same place, you're probably going to have problems. But you can, if you want, pick where your libraries are already. And this is the default setting. And it's the default place I'm going to put stuff. But if you change it, it'll change where stuff goes, where things are pathed, a lot of stuff. In general, you don't want to mess with wpsystem.conf unless you know what you're doing, you're willing to experiment, and you're willing to deal with maybe it not working for a bit until you figure out how to get it working. Okay. I'm a bit of a clown too, but okay. So where are we at? I'm going to accept the license agreement. Now this is going to be opt. I'm going to put the program. I'm going to put the program in a different place than the other versions of the program. Again, what do I got? WP8D, WP8C, matches. See that? It matches. And if someone comes by wherever I have this stuff housed, I haven't decided where I'm going to house this yet. If someone comes by and says, well, I did your installer with the GUI, but when I go to launch the icons, it doesn't work. How comes that is? I'm gonna point you to this part of the YouTube video. I'm going to go, you see that? That's going to equal that. See that? It's my smart-ass answer, basically. And yeah, download edition doesn't come with any print drivers. Is that a problem? No. Why isn't it a problem? I don't know. Or does it? Oh yeah, it does. All right, let's create a driver. Make sure to select the destination or your print jobs will go nowhere. And we're going to put a lot of number in this thing. What are we going to do? Oh, yes. I believe that in this presentation, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be. How many installs you got here? Alright, so I got 5 print jobs. This means I've installed 5 versions of WordPerfect so far. But since we're going for a world record, I will set the world record tonight. I gotta do some more, so I'm going to go for version 8.1. What I have here is 81. Why did I do it that way? Because I felt like it. If you don't like it, too bad. Rewrite the script yourself. Alright, let's go for it. Let's suck it to download now. Version 8 only needs 2 libraries, Library C and Library M, but it does need the newer version of Library C. It doesn't have a graphical font installer. Supposedly it does this stuff on its own. And we are going to add our printer. Pick destination, of course, because they had to make this so confusing. And we'll exit. Hey, there we go. All right. Bada bing. Let's check preferences. Can we? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. That's all working. I fixed that. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, kid. You bother me. Let's go to the next one. And now we're at the 7s. So now we're going to go to the more ancient ones. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step up, step right. I'm holding anything behind my sleeves. Let's do 7R. R, since it's an RPM, that'll be quick and bedazzle the crowd. Yes. This will be install number 7. This is 50 megabytes. I'll be here for an eternity. What the hell? Why is this going on so long? 9 hours left in my download. This took a very long time to put together. Some really interesting problems I had to deal with. First problem I had to deal with version 7 was the fact that the installer was broken. But if the install fails, the installer likes to delete all the files that unzipped that you need to install the program with. So this is kind of, yeah, Corel's got a broken version of WordPerfect 7 up at their FTP site, but I fixed it for them. If they use my installer, it will download, it's version 7C, will download the files from their FTP server and cause their installer to launch. And what I had to do in that case, I had to copy all the files that the installer unzipped for me and made usable, stash them aside, close the installer automatically, then move the files silently back to where they should go, and then let my installer do its thing. I had to go through a list of 300 files and make sure they landed in the right place with the right permissions using shell scripting. I did that for you and me and everybody else. WordPerfect 7 all that great? It seems to have a little more features on the control panel. It seems like it has more printers. But that's about it. Okay. 20, come on. Let's do it. Let's download this damn file. The funny thing about this is, though, is that the most complete version of WordPerfect 7 comes in an RPM created by Red Hat, which is the one I'm going to download, which is the easiest to install and required no intervention on my part for it to work. All I had to do is put the files in the right place. It's got the most stuff. It's the best choice for version 7. The best choice for version 8.1, of course, is the only version for 8.1, and that is, of course, 8.1. The best choice for 8 is the WordPerfect Linux Bible 8IB. 8IB. And we have 6 hours for the download to complete. I could download this from my Google Drive, but I'm going to make you guys suffer and watch this. So don't fast forward, you're going to watch this. You can't, and now, with files that are larger than 250 megabytes, there's a special thing you have to do. I had to deal with that. There's a bunch of stuff, which I'm too tired to go into. Right now, I'm just showing this damn thing works. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to provide a link to this installer script to this YouTube video. And that's going to be the start. And then eventually I'll house this stuff somewhere. Now, a couple things I didn't do that are on my to-do list. Okay. So, critics, I've made the list for you already, okay? Where is it? As this damn thing downloads. I have not added the Filtrix patch. There was someone that made a patch that basically the Filtrix patch is something that allows the end user to open up Microsoft Word documents and import it into WordPerfect. It's kind of important. I have not implemented that yet. But if you can manage to download it and run it yourself, it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal, but I have not incorporated that yet. Not incorporated that yet. There's some other icons I can make, especially for the font installer, a support icon, and the thesaurus, and maybe the spell checker, and a print destination graphical user interface. And as I've noted in this presentation, there's it can go wrong if you use the graphical user interface installer for 8, 8D, 8I, and 8B, and you do not pay attention as to what directory the damn program's supposed to go, and you say to put it somewhere else via the installer, the launch isn't going to work. Because remember, all these files that I put into user bin, which is now grown, and why are we going backwards here? XWP is what I'm looking for. Because when I write this thing from scratch, that's the wrong one again, I'm going to use this one. When I write this whole thing from scratch, I get these variables from WordPerfectSystem.com, WPSystem.conf, with very few exceptions. This LD library path is absolutely critical to get this thing to run right. This is critical to get this thing to run right. This right here allows you to pass the admin switch when you run it. And also, this is the print manager. I got to put one of these things in the opt directory and rename the native print manager so that this interface over here, I'm not running any of them right now. When I clicked on it, it said, yeah, the printer works. It didn't work without doing that little trick. Let me show you what that was. So, if you're just a user of WordPerfect and you found out after you upgraded, you're no longer able to go into the control panel. Where's WP bin? No. SH bin. Okay, right over here. So I make this script here. Damn it. Which is the same thing as what's in user bin. I set the paths, I set the symbolic link, and I call up, I've renamed the binary that comes with WordPerfect to wppmgr.bin, which is that. If I don't do that, when the main graphical user interface for WordPerfect whatever in the control panel tries to call up the print manager to set options, it just won't launch. So this was the solution to getting that done right. And the reason is because when the program tries to run, we're at 87%. Man, I might as well just, I get 8 up anyway, right? Here's the preferences. Here, that would not pop up had I not done that trick I just showed you. The switcheroo with the symbolic link for the library. 8 would come up with every time you launch it, basically by typing XWP8. In fact, I'll just go over this right now. So if you want to do the program manager, it's XWPP. The print manager, XWPPM, and then the version 8, 8I, 8IB, 8.1. Of course, if it exists. There isn't one for, oh yeah, there is one for 8D, I think. There's no font manager for 8D. Now this is annoying me. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about this. Because I don't expect people to run as root all the time, and the damn thing. Don't know why it needs to be. These are just shared libraries for one package for a user. Alright, let's do this thing. With the same drill. So I could use the fonts from WordPerfect for Linux Bible for version 8 and version 7. This is an unholy combination. I'm going to install it, do its thing. Alright, let's go here. Alright, good. So I'm going to do something with the installer, make sure that it changes the permission for the ownership to you, the user. Because, you know, I've dealt with so many levels of permissions issues, and at some point, I mean, some points, this is an area where I think security is just in the way. And it'll be an option. If the user doesn't want to do that, they can have that turned off. But it's going to be on by default. I might do that in the next version. Those libraries typically they're not going to end up being used by a bunch of programs on your system, actually. They're not. They're going to be used by these special legacy programs. Now, if you're running other legacy programs, legacy games, things like that, you probably are better off having all your shared libraries in the same place anymore. Maybe for people who have, there are certain distros that just can't seem to get certain legacy apps to run, and they don't know why. That might be the answer. It's just not getting pathed. Alright, so let's go with the choices that I made on behalf of all you kindly users. Because I didn't want to get into an impossible situation of chasing around all the possibilities of people to have their shared libraries land, and because I couldn't choose to put the shared libraries, say, in opt or some shit like that, what ended up happening is I decided I'm just going to put them in I-486, and that's the only circumstance I'm going to guarantee this will run. I suggest to the user, if they have legacy shared libraries installed, that they uninstall them and they go with the set that I provide. Now, our decision I've made is have two versions of library C in there, and depending on which version of WordPerfect you run, depends on which one is used via the symbolic link to library SO5. Because no, there isn't backwards compatibility necessarily. Now, if you don't care about the error that comes up, you can disable that, because I do allow for the user to disable that in WordPerfect.system.conf. Now, do another printer. Oh, am I just doing this for fun? Yeah, well, do it afterwards. This starts the trial period. And it's been a very long time since anybody used WordPerfect 7 on a current Linux computer. This thing came out late 90s. Compile date, February 23rd, 97. That is a 21-year-old. For this version of WordPerfect can get a driver's license. You do that twice just to make sure you get registered with the trial period. Now, one thing about WordPerfect 7 is I don't know how to get the license number in there. And because the GUI installer is broken, I don't know how you would actually do that. Alright, so let's go for, what version was that? We have two other versions to go. Looks like it's going to be 7 and 7C. And after I make changes, yes I do. I test all these damn things. Now, with 7, C, and 7, I have to start the GUI to get the files unzipped so I can use them and put them in the right place. I don't care that the GUI's up. Don't touch the GUI. Leave the GUI alone. If you touch the GUI, you die. Not my fault if you touch the GUI and your install fails. Your computer starts smoking. GUI is a graphical user interface for the layperson. Alright, leave it alone. If you come by and say my stuff doesn't work because you pressed OK for version 7, I'm going to say, watch this part of the video. As I said, font install takes the most time. User text LiRix 11 wants type 1. And we're installing fonts. And it's going to look very similar too. So you notice how I didn't do anything with the GUI, but we got an installation. Fancy stuff, let me tell you. see what other kind of stuff is in WP system that I've done here. Now, there's this option. There's a zip file at all the the FreeBSD download sites. There's a graphics target zip. I've come to the realization that if you just don't download that thing and you just don't unzip it, things seem to go better. This option here is whether you want to use the patch that I got, versions 8 GUI installer, to only complain about one thing, and that was the pixel format. Basically, I fixed the installer. If you don't patch it, you won't be able to install from the GUI installer. This, I even embedded, what is the ld config command? Where does ldso.conf go? What's its name? What's the library argument? And where is the path I'm going to point the shared libraries to? This tag here isn't really all that important, but you might as well keep it. I got it there for historical reasons. Basically right now, if I were to look in the root directory, I would find that this tag right here, /Linux, that's all that is. But if you want to, you can try one download of version 8D, and then you can change the tag and have two of them sitting there. Although probably not really all that great. This is, the install root is where the thing ends up getting placed. I don't put a directory / in front of it because I use these variables to create these icons here. And other things. I just need that to be separate, so just don't put a / there. This WP from package directory also serves as the base. If you were to change this WP to something else, we go to opt. If you change that to QR, we go to opt QR 8281, whatever. This is where I put the install scripts. Probably best keep it there unless you know how to path stuff. When I make the KD icons, if your version of Linux doesn't have a folder called desktop, where it's lowercase, you can change the name of the directory, because I need to know where to put your icons. This is where the symbolic link needs to go, so the program will like X11 and be able to run. These are CD mounting options. This is the directory that the mounted CD image from the Bible or the 8.1 is going to land. Let's see what else we got going on here. Okay, press continue. Let's do our printer. Now, with version 7 and 7C, all they give you is the LaserJet 3SI. But I will say that works just fine without a problem on my frickin' Canon. So there are advantages and disadvantages in every one of these. Now, for some reason on 7C and 7, the license Diamond doesn't run, but it still keeps track of how many days you've owned the damn thing. So I don't think what the difference is. And another print job. Make sure. Oh yeah, we're gonna check to make sure. You see, we got more stuff here. Yeah, set print restrictions. We do stuff with our printers, do stuff with our fonts, do stuff with our display. Sorry, hurry, step right up, folks. Alright, let's do print. Select the LaserJet 3 that is not there. And we're going to get out of here, and it's going to do one more time to activate the license, just in case it didn't work the first time. Can't be too careful. And now, let's see. Get out of wpsystem.conf. We'll look at wpdownload.conf eventually. Okay, install. So I did 7. C. I did 7. R. I believe. There's my root. I think all I have is just what I'm calling 7, which was the demo FreeBSD2, 7C7R. Yeah, right. Change that, sucker. Save that, sucker. And your best, in my opinion, of course, because I've made all the decisions, you're best off not messing with the wpsystem.conf thing at all. You might have to mess with WP download and go over that pretty soon. Get her, kid, you bother me. Okay, let's do this thing. That's got to be capitals, or we're going to start all over again. Okay. Got to press enter correctly. It's not going to work. I'll do it now. Okay, there we go. Tell me the same thing. Also, now, your computer could be, one other thing. Your computer could be of a different speed than mine. So basically, this is what I have to do. When the GUI starts, it unzips a bunch of stuff. That takes some time. If I try to copy the stuff it unzips before it's done unzipping everything, I won't be able to copy everything. Okay. So I got a delay after that happens. But then, when the GUI closes, it deletes a bunch of stuff, so I got to wait long enough to copy the stuff back. So there's two parts of the delay, and there's 1 and 2 basically. And this works on my computer just fine. I start copying late enough after the GUI unzips everything, and then when the GUI starts to close, it deletes everything, and I got this stuff in some holding area, and I want to make sure I'm only copying the stuff back after it's deleted everything, and it's done deleting stuff. So you can change the variables on that, and guess what? wpsystem.conf. Yes, that's right. I think this is in terms of seconds. So 10-second delay, 20-second delay. So yes, you guessed it. The rest of this install is going to take at least, 30 seconds. But more than that, because it takes time to download the parts. There's a bunch of parts to this WordPerfect. Now this one comes with a manual. Whoop-de-frickin-do. And an SDK, software development kit. I don't think I've ever used. It's our last install. And the speed's pretty good speed there. This one has a bunch of parts to download. And parts is parts. But, again, don't touch this thing. Complain about it, I'll direct you to this point in the video and say, see that? Don't touch it. Now we're waiting for the GUI to stop deleting files. Exactly what I just explained. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9th is coming. Font install. I think I can conclude that this version of my installer works. I think. Now, I was toying with the idea of making the installers for 8 not do the GUI, but do the same way it does for 7. That is a tedious, big-ass job to make the install go manually and not have the GUI. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I will if I want to die of a heart attack, but besides that, I don't know. I haven't applied the Filtrix patch once again. I don't have it so the script stops if a download fails. I don't have language options for any of version 7. The RPM itself might have come with German language options. I don't know how to change it. I do know I do download the language stuff, but I don't use it all, because the way they have the zip files, they pave over each other, and the installer is broken. It would take a lot of work. And I'm lazy, as you can tell. There are some benign errors when I do the WordPerfect 8D installer. There's one manual binary move I have to make myself. I don't have a lot of comments in my code. I don't have an option to suppress the need for me to type yes every time I do an install. I'm trying to variabilize more and more of my code as I go, but I think I'm down to the point when you have to variabilize echo that maybe you ought to quit. My icons are only made for KDE 3, but they may work on other desktops. I've not brought in the Corel OS fonts. If I tried, I only have one set anyway, and I haven't really integrated the program into KDE. That is to say that when I double click on a WPD program, KDE knows to launch WordPerfect. Now, these are other things I was thinking of doing. Since WordPerfect 9 was labeled as for Linux, even though it was made to run in Windows and a compatibility layer was added to it, which still works. You can just install WordPerfect 9 with Wine, and there is a place to download that off the internet. That being WordPerfect 9, sorry. I don't know if I can have the energy to do it, to make another one of these scripts so it'll basically get the thing to install in Wine. Or get the things to install in DOS-EMU, or download one of my VMs that's got WordPerfect 6 installed and 5.2, and let the end user incorporate that into VirtualBox. I haven't brought in Corel Paint that's available. I don't know how that differs from Draw, or if it differs from Draw at all. Rick Moen probably figured that out, and I probably just don't remember what his answer was. It seemed like he was saying they're the same, but I'm not sure. Don't blame Rick Moen, blame me if I got that wrong. Now, there is a way, one of the people that was writing about this stuff, I don't see the sense of it because we got the pass-through PostScript driver. But there is a guy that has a WordPerfect for DOS website, and he does try to support modern-day printers, or at least give advice for it. When I try to print from WordPerfect 5 for DOS, he suggests I use an HP LaserJet driver based on the contents of his website. I tried it, it worked. Apparently the drivers from WordPerfect for DOS can be used in Linux. I did not know that. That's weird, wild stuff. But yes, it's true. I'm just going to do our last printer. Hey, there's an H. Wait. Didn't do the destination. Gotta do that. Nothing but net. Yep, that works. That works. All right. God damn it! I wanted to close you. It's part of the routine. Let's try. And then over here, where's the 7? Who's got the 7? There it is. That's 9 installations. And how long am I into this damn thing? 2 hours? Hour and a half. Hour and a half. That's with me talking a lot. Now, if I just did this, I wonder how long it would take. Alright, so I'm done for... Oh, yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the printers. Supposedly, you could download drivers that are linked to the WordPerfect 5 for DOS webpage, where they got printers. It's a Columbia EDU. Oh, let's just go to this damn thing. This thing here. He's got some links. You could download drivers that you could use today. They won't be for the same model. I don't see the sense of doing this because the pass-through PostScript works just fine. Just install your native driver into your thing and use the pass-through PostScript driver. See anything wrong with that? So that's why I'm probably not going to do that, but it was something I was considering. Also, Vitasware has some versions up there, but he doesn't seem to like people downloading his stuff too often, so I'm not going to add his stuff in here. And plus, they're not up there in the way that they were originally packaged. I got this thing to install stuff from the way it was originally packaged. Okay? So it was originally packaged with FreeBSD 2.2 the way it is on their FTP servers. They're all the same. I'm getting this off CDs. I'm getting it off Corel's FTP site. Okay. And I don't want this to go too far. Stuff I'm not going to do is make installers for other flavors of Unix. I will say this. Corel does have at their website versions of 6 and 7 for various esoteric versions of Unix. If you have something like HPUX or IRIX or AIX or some shit like that, you can use WordPerfect. You just got to get the damn program from Corel's FTP site. It's ftpcorel.com. You're not going to find it on the front of their webpage. Let's see, ftp.corel. Yeah, there we go. Show you guys everything. Got a lot of stuff here. Tons of it. Let's go on WordPerfect, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, fans around the world. Here's Unix. These are all demos. There's 6 and 6.2. So they got one for the NCR platform, the Silicon Graphics, the AT&T 5000/NCR. They got one for Unixware. That's version 5 and 6.2. And then they got for 7. Maybe. No, not there. In demos, these here are all 7. This is misleading. This x86 is Solaris x86. This is Sun on a Spark station. This is Solaris on a Spark station. This is SCO on a PC. Linux on a PC. That's the version 7 I'm calling 7C. IBM on its own architecture. HPUX and Digital Unix. These have been up there for a while. But if you want a word processor for your completely esoteric and isolated version of Unix with a hopelessly outdated compiler, you can get that here. What other thing? There's also a box set that I own that just so happens to be, and it is a coincidence, that at WinWorld PC, after I bought the damn thing, wrong one. That one. I bought this box set a couple years ago. Now it's on the internet for free download. Version 6 will run in Linux, but older versions of the kernel, not the present versions of the kernel. I've done a bunch of YouTube videos trying to get the damn thing to run. The latest one I've got to work in where it's not broken in some fashion is SUSE Linux 7.3. Somewhere between 7.3 and 9.0, some of the necessary modules like the ABI for the SCO socket interface was removed from the kernel, so it no longer works, and it's a hopeless crap shot to get the source code of the Linux ABI project to download and compile in your system. Either it's done for you or you're screwed, baby. But you can get those versions to work. 5.2 is not graphical, it is text-based. It's a real treat. Maybe I'll fire that up quickly for you guys. I was considering moving over the font manager to the download edition of 5.2, but since it's all available and right here, why not just install the real thing instead of the download edition? Truth be told, this is abandonware. Let's face the reality here. If version 12 in Windows is abandonware, I think that version 8 in Linux is abandonware too. I don't know. Call me crazy. I mean, right? I can't do font over. There's a limited number of fonts that can be installed in the system. There is a way to convert TrueType fonts to AFM, but the files that WordPerfect actually wants, as far as fonts are concerned, with the damn thing, they want PFBs and AF something or others. Fuck are those? Even though it says fonts, there's nothing in there. I think it's AFM and PFBs. If you don't have those, it just won't install. Or if they're it'll cause the program to crash if they're not formatted exactly correct. So you should go with ones you know they're going to work with WordPerfect. I was thinking of adding a graphical user interface to my installer, but Zenity just wasn't. Either I wasn't up to the task of learning Zenity, or Zenity wasn't. I think it was the first. I just wasn't ready to do that. All right, so quick for a little treat. If you haven't seen my other videos, it's 2 hours here. I'm gonna die. We'll show you what 5.2 looks like. And 6, why not? Now, 6 did not come with Caldera 2.2. 7 came with Caldera 2.2. 6 can run in Caldera 2.2. You have to load the modules, basically. Why would I want to do that? Because I feel like it. That's why. I don't like it when capabilities are lost, basically. Astounding graphics. Not much different. I don't think I have any printers installed here. Do I? Oh, I do, actually. Yeah. to save. All right, let's look and see what the other. Actually, oh wait, I do my trick. We'll look at 5.1. Oh man, where is this? Not gonna let me do it, are they? Bastards. Alright, I gotta go to another version. And we're done. No, we're not. Almost done. Okay. Hurry up. I'm tired. If you want command line, WordPerfect. Yeah, that's not going to work because that's the wrong one. That's the Xenix one's incomplete. Oh, I have to set this thing. Oh, he turned 52, man. It's a TRS. Actually, I'm gonna do it that way. Oh, yeah. You can't open the fucking file. It's owned by root. Who am I? Root? Yeah. Yeah. It's because this doesn't have the... I forgot what the friggin' command was. Alright, whatever. I'll do this way. I thought I had that set. No, I'm just quitting.
What is this one? It's Susan 9 I gotta use. Yeah. There we go. I would get the menu to come up and hit escape and equals. Supposedly. Okay, that's it.